Salam kenal semuanya. Pada sesi webinar kita kali ini, saya akan memandunya dalam dua bahasa, yaitu bahasa Inggris dan juga bahasa Indonesia. Tujuannya untuk mempermudah dan memperlancar sesi diskusi kita karena salah satu narasumbernya juga berasal dari luar Indonesia. Seperti itu. Terima kasih Bapak dan Ibu sekalian. Sebelum kita memulai sesi presentasi ini, saya ingin mengucapkan terima kasih. Thank you so much for Mas Nathan Rusli and Yoris as our speakers on webinar, this webinar. Thank you so much. And I will also maybe some co-chairs of the IDSSG cannot join us today. So regarding on behalf of our co-chairs of IDSSG, I will read their opening remarks after this. But before that, I want to read some rundown regarding our webinars today. So after this, I will read the opening remarks by co-chair of IDSSG. And then after that, I will pass the sharing sessions to our beloved speakers. So the first speakers might be Mas Nathan Rusli. He will give the experiences in leptophrine conservation breeding and also maybe playing some video screening about the breeding success of leptophrine by Taman Safari also. And then after that, I'll pass to our second speakers. Yoris will talk about what is ZIMS and the use of ZIMS for wildlife conservation. And also he will show us about the demo for using ZIMS itself. And for these presentations, we will take for one and a half hour. And then after that, I will open the Q&A sessions for 25 minutes. So for all of the participants here that might have some questions and want to ask directly to the presenter here, to our speakers, or maybe want to write it on the chat box, are welcoming. But I believe maybe not all of the questions might be answered on today's webinar. So we are trying to improve all of the questions, maybe by notes and answer it through the notes, sending to the email or to the WhatsApp group. And then I will ending the sessions by the closing remark also. That's it. Maybe before I pass it to our speakers in sharing sessions, I will read the opening remarks by our lovely co-chair that cannot be join us today.
Pak Sufraha, actually I'm here.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
Oh,
No.
yeah, Pak Narto, sorry. Yeah.
No, it's okay. No worries.
Information letter. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Pak Narto, for also joining us here. So I will pass the time for you to give opening remarks, Pak Narto. Time
okay,
and
thank you.
place yours, Pak Narto. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much, Mbak Sufra. And yeah, I apologize everyone because earlier I had a conflicting meeting, but I left the other meeting earlier. I managed to do that because I think this is very exciting and important event also. I've been looking forward to hear the presentation from Yoris as well as Nathan, my very good friend. I know there are a lot of good work happening in IPB, and also from Yoris, I would like to learn more about the database system, information system, something that I think is really can be really powerful tools and been like one of the main gaps, yeah, in many conservation world. I mean, how do we manage data and how we use it properly to improve our practices? So I hope this is also going to be useful for many of the participants here. So you guys, I believe, will not waste your time. And please, yeah, let's hear from our two great speaker today. And hopefully this is just the beginning and we can collaborate further and learn from each other even more after the event. I think that's it from me, Mbak Supraha. Thank you so much again also to you, Mbak Supraha, and especially Dita, who have, I know, been working really hard to prepare everything. So I really appreciate and anyone who have supported that allowing this event to take place. So yeah, over back to you, Mbak Supraha. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Pak Narto. Thank you also for giving me chance to becoming a moderator by this webinar. Thank you also, Mbak Dita in Secretariat of IDSSG for preparing all of this. And now, before I pass it to our lovely speaker, I will introduce them. Maybe I gonna read some simple CV. Hopefully, Mas Nathan already joined us here also. Maybe you can turn on your camera, Mas Nathan. So we have two wonderful speakers here. So the first speaker, Mas Nathan Rusli, he is an Indonesian herpetologist, author, photographer, and zoological consultant. So for now, his work centered on the captive management of amphibian and reptiles, snake conflict mitigations, and science communications. He currently serves as curator of the Herpetological Conservation Breeding Lab, or HCBL, at IPB University and as an executive director of the Indonesia Herpetona Foundations. I think based on his background, I believe he has lots of experience on conservation effort regarding the Herpetona. So I'm looking forward for what he wanna share for his experience on this webinar. And also for our second speaker, he is Yoris Verbruggen. I'm sorry, Yoris, if I misspell your long name. Hopefully I'm not wrong.
Perfect.
Thank you. So
Thank you.
Yoris right now working on the Species 360 as a regional coordinator global development team. And he is also experienced coordinator with a strong background in a non-profit organization management, particularly in animal welfare and conservation. He holds a Bachelor of Honor in Animal Management from Van Hallenstein University of Applied Science. I do believe also that Yoris has lots of experience regarding building the relationship with lots of stakeholders around the countries in this world. So maybe you can also share what you're doing in the Species 360. And maybe you can also give us some motivations and let us know about what is the ZIMS, what is the software that could really helpful on conservation effort, especially on the wildlife conservation effort in Exido area. So without any further ado, I will pass for the first speakers to can give a presentation first. Mas Nathan Rusli. Are you ready? Ya, oke. Time and place are yours, Mas Nathan. Dipersilakan.
Okay, can you see the screen? Can you hear me?
Yeah,
Yeah.
perfectly. Yeah.
Okay, am I doing this in English or Bahasa or both?
You can do any comfortable language you can. I think English much better.
Okay, that's
Nathan?
fine. Hi, thanks for the introductions. For those who don't know me, my name is Nathan and I'm interested in captive management, right? And today I'll be sharing with you the importance of record keeping in the captive management of amphibians and reptiles. So it is mainly based on our work here at the HCBL with the leptophrine species, so the bleeding toad and its allies. But I will also talk about other species as well and other amphibians and other reptiles that I've been involved with and why it's really important to keep records and the challenges that we faced. And that will tie in later to Yoris's presentation on the ZIMS software and how we can work together to further research and conservation with captive management. Right. So I'd like to start this talk with a story about this turtle. Right? These are the Roti Island snake-necked turtles. And these are endemic to the island of Roti. They're only found on this small island on of the coast of Timor in East Indonesia. And they, well, at some point, a few years ago, they were extinct in the wild due to habitat loss and overhunting for the illegal pet trade. And thankfully, during that time, the animals that were in the trade and some have made their way to zoos all over the world, have produced a robust ex situ population. And now they are currently being reintroduced back into the wild on the island of Roti through years of hard work, repatriating them, rehabilitating them, and preparing them to go back into the wild. So this is one example of a success story where an animal that has once vanished from the wild is now being repatriated back to its native range and hopefully soon back to their native habitats. So this is Oki Hidayat, one of the people who is heavily involved with the reintroduction of the Roti Island turtle, and he's in one of the pens, the turtle pens, where they are doing the soft release in the lakes on the island of Roti. And this is the species, our focal species here at HCBL, the bleeding toad, Leptophrine cruentata. And this is a really special little amphibian because he's only about this big, only about 2 centimeters long, 3 centimeters for females. And they're very small and they are extremely restricted in their range. So they are endemic to only 2 mountain ranges in West Java, right? So, and both of the mountain ranges in which they live are volcanic. So they could just go boom at any point. And if that were to happen, these frogs would go extinct. And they took, a really long time to evolve. And they've been so distinct from the other amphibians that it would be such a shame to lose them. And these are critically endangered and the only protected species. So it is for species like this very important to understand the captive management and to have a robust population in captivity, just in case, something happens in the wild. And aside from the risk of volcanic eruptions, they're also being threatened by tourist activities, by chytrid fungus, and climate change, among other things. And so our goal here at HCBL is to safeguard a captive population as an assurance population, one of several, hopefully, in Indonesia and throughout the world. And I think our colleagues at Taman Safari have had success with this species. And I believe Arif is here as well. He's the one that has been doing the breeding at Taman Safari for the bleeding toad. And what we do here actually is a much slower approach because nothing is known about the Leptophrine cruentata, the bleeding toad, and is critically endangered. We are now trying first with the model species. So it's allies of the same genus, but less threatened. So we are using the hourglass toad, Leptophrine bobonica, and this year we will start with the Leptophrine javanica, the endangered chiramai toad. And moving aside from the toads, I will get back to them later. This is one example of a critically endangered species that has been bred in captivity, Orlicia boniensis, the Malayan giant river turtle. And this is the largest turtle, hard-shelled turtle in Southeast Asia, and is critically endangered. And not much is known about their reproduction, about their husbandry, and about their captive management in general. Now, a few rescue centers, such as the Wildlife Rescue Center in Yogyakarta, have accidentally bred these animals, but we don't really know how. So they live in this large enclosure. We don't really know how to sex them, males, females, and then suddenly there's these small turtles. I think about 3 years ago, Irna, who is in charge of the Malayan giant turtle project, she started the project to figure out, how do they breed, where do they lay their nest, or what's the incubation temperatures, how do you distinguish males and females, and to answer all these questions, because it would be a shame if we had babies, small turtles, but we didn't know who the parents are, what their genetics are like. Because one important thing from for captive populations, right, if they are to be used in reintroduction, in conservation, for them to have any benefit to conservation, they must be genetically robust. You cannot have inbred animals, you cannot have a low genetic diversity, because at some point down the line, that would cause a lot of deformities and eventually would cause the species to go extinct. And that's why we need to know how to breed them, who the parents are. And we need to be able to identify individuals. Okay, and with the turtles, we can easily do that based on the markings on the ventral side, on the belly. You can see each individual turtle will have a different set of lines bordering the scutes on their plastron. Now, with our toads here, the hourglass toads, we do the other side, the back, the dorsum. And each frog will have its own set of patterns, just like a tiger's stripes and a human fingerprint. You know, each individual is unique and they're all very different from each other. And this is how we identify our individuals at the lab. So we are able to identify each individuals. With the birds, you can put a ring. With larger species, you can put a microchip, and that would help us identify who's who, and we can effectively manage the collection, especially when we breed the animals, we know who's mating with who. And to illustrate this, I think I'm going to use lizards just to add a bit of variety. These are the morning geckos, Lepidodactylus lugubris. They're not a threatened species, but they are interesting in which they are parthenogenic, and they're all, most of them are clones. They're able to clone themselves. A female, without being fertilized by a male, can, you know, make her own babies, lay her own eggs. Now, these are two females from the same clutch, but we can distinguish them, you know, by individual, right? So the first one would have a nice, almost donut shape on the base of the tail. It's got a blunt tail, whereas the tail on this one is, the number 2 is more pointed. So within the same species, they look very similar. With the dorsal pattern, sometimes you can see the difference between the individual. And this is important, especially when you're breeding the animals. And with adults, sure, it's easy. But look, these are a clutch of developing larvae of our hourglass toads. And there's about 400 individuals here. And if you would like to identify each of these individually, even after they've hatched, you know, it is very difficult, right? And so you manage them. Well, what we do is we split them into smaller groups, and we manage them as a group rather than as an individual, because each group is given pretty much the same treatment. And this is some of our basic tanks we use to rear the tadpoles. We have tried different techniques. And right, so once we've identified each individual, you know, an animal comes in, they go into a quarantine setup, then they are measured, right? We get the morphometrics, we measure them, and then we weigh them, right? Some you can use a small cup, put them in on a scale. For larger animals, you're going to need a bigger scale. And this is one of the Malayan giant turtles we have at the Gembira Loka Zoo in Yogyakarta. So once you've got all your basic data, sometimes you will, you know, use this data again. You will collect these data again to see their growth, right? And it is important to record the length, to record the weight, to see if the animals are losing weight or are they gaining weight. And sometimes that can be an indicator of if it's ready to breed or not. Okay, and so these are important things. And if we don't record them, it is difficult to understand our animals and to successfully maintain them in captivity. Here is one of my beloved spitting cobras. We actually found her in a kitchen in someone's house in 2015. Almost dead, but she made it, and she's still alive to this day. And the thing here I'm trying to illustrate is that not all animals eat every day, right? So snakes, Some of them would eat once a week, once every 2 weeks, and some even once every 3 months, depending on the species and the size of the animal. And for these animals, especially when you have about 70 snakes like I do, it is difficult to remember when each animal has fed. And whether an animal has fed or not is a very important aspect to assess their health and their overall condition. So here on this is one of the record sheets we use, right? Every month and each date, we write down, what we fed the animals. So let's say on the 5th of January, she was given 4 large mice, and she ate the mice because we're not crossing it out. So if we cross it out, it means it didn't take the food. On the 8th, she defecated, and so on and so forth. And we can see here that, okay, this animal seems pretty healthy. It defecates, it eats well, it takes its food, right? And there's no issues here. But if we look at this record sheet, for 3 months, this animal has rejected his food, right? And it's a very shy animal. This is the record sheet from Death Adder, one of Papua's actually most deadly snakes, but it's also a very secretive animal. And that's why we don't tend to disturb the animal much. But when we see this record sheet, 3 months is a long time, even for a snake, not to eat. So there must be an issue. So we went out and we, took the snake, restrained it, and examined the inside of his mouth. And it turns out he had a small infection. And we caught it just in time for the vet to do his treatment. And thankfully now he's back feeding again. He's actually in a small quarantine box. But that shows that, feeding records, looking at the records, we can see a pattern, right? We can see this, how the animal is doing. And if something's going on, something's weird, you can easily identify if something's out of the ordinary. So apart from the animal itself, we also would record the temperature. And this is one of the data loggers in our lab, in which we record the ambient humidity and temperature of the terrariums, of the room in general, rooms. And that greatly affects, these animals, right? Because they are cold-blooded. They rely on their surroundings for temperature, to regulate the temperature. And so for cold-blooded animals especially, it is important to understand what's the best temperature to keep them in. And if we don't record the temperatures regularly, it is difficult to know, what's best to do. And if the temperature had anything to do with, say something gets sick or something starts breeding, sometimes temperature, humidity, sudden shift in one of these aspects can trigger breeding, or it can cause animals to become stressed or ill. And with tadpoles and other aquatic animals, water parameters are also a really important aspect, because obviously they live in water and they absorb water through their skin, right? The amphibians have permeable skin. And so it is important to regularly test the water. If something looks weird, test the water. See if any of the parameters are off. If you've got too much ammonia, if you've got too much nitrite, and then you know the root of your problem, and then you know what you can do, right? And if we regularly record these data, we will know, okay, the amphibians, the larvae of Leptophrine bobonica prefer this range of pH. A neutral pH, of course, obviously low ammonia, blah, blah, blah. And that would help us in the future maintain these animals and their congeners, and also hopefully other institutions as well. It would help other institutions to learn from what we have done, how we have succeeded, and also how we have failed to maintain these animals through our records. And so if we have sick animals or animals with parasites, such as this large reticulated python here, and we're collecting ectoparasites from the head, the vet would usually keep medical records and keep samples of these. right? And they would be integrated with the records of each animal. And if an animal has just undergone an operation, so this lizard here has had its leg amputated because it was too badly rotted, because it got in a fight with another lizard. Okay, now the vets, this is one of our veterinary students taking, recording the condition of the animal every few hours to see how it's getting on. And when you want to breed the animals, right, it's important to write that down when you've bred them, how regularly you've paired them, how did you pair them, what conditions did you create to induce breeding? Did you feed them a lot, okay, or did you wait till the female was a certain mass, or what indicated that, okay, it's time to breed, or did you just leave them in and suddenly you observed breeding? And that's important, once again, for us to learn and replicate in the future, and for other institutions to be able to replicate the work that we've done. And so these are our hourglass toads mating in the rain chamber. And here's an example of a reptile, a Malayan racer hatching from the egg. So yeah, how long was the egg? What temperature was it incubated in? How long was the incubation process? And sometimes they don't hatch all at once. Some's gonna hatch today, some's gonna hatch maybe in 3 days, right? And it's important to know these things so that we know more about the natural history, about the reproduction of these species, because there's a lot of Indonesian species in which we know nothing about their natural history, or very little. And keeping records, keeping animals in captivity and keeping records, that can provide valuable data to be used both in ex situ context and in situ context, especially for threatened species such as the Roti Island snake-necked turtle and the bleeding toad and many other species. And with that, I think I will, I started with the snake-necked turtle. I'll finish with that. And just as an aside, now we are doing most of our records manually on paper and sometimes on Excel, and it gives us a massive headache. So I'm hoping that whatever Yoris is going to talk about can hopefully solve some of our issues, because as you can imagine, having hundreds of tadpoles. Oh, we had 6 die today. Which ones? I'm not going to give each of them a number. Let's just guess. And yeah, maintaining a large number of animals, some in groups, some individually. If they get sick, they get an individual number. It's all a big headache. It's important, but it's a big headache. And I am optimistic that whatever we will talk about today can provide some insight and hopefully help not just us, but zoological institutions throughout the country to help improve captive management for conservation. And I guess that's it from me. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mas Nathan. I want to ask first, do you have any video that you want to play maybe? Because in our rundown should be some video to be played.
Well, I believe Taman Safari was gonna play a video. Is Arif here still?
I think I read Arif Mutargan also joined us.
Maybe.
Or
Dita, maybe who's supposed to play the video? Did?
I have it available if you need to. I'm not
Okay.
sure about the
yeah.
sound. Dita would be better, I think.
Yes, I can play the video.
Okay, thanks, Dita.
Okay.
Or maybe if we have some troubles to playing the videos, maybe we can pass it after Yoris finishes his presentations. So before we move to Yoris, thanks once again to Mas Nathan. That was really excellent presentations. And I think it is new things for me to learn also about the amphibian and reptiles conservations. And about the captive breeding, that's such a good point on the conservation effort, especially in XC2, to also improve our population, increase the number of population for specific threatened species. And I think the things that very important to highlight is about the data. Data is very important because without data, without recording it and analyzing the data, we can decide what is the best way to do the conservation effort to also help them and increase the populations regarding their threatened and decrease population by this day by day. And then the things that Mas Nathan also said, yeah, we are really have lots of headache to recording and also analyzing the data because still in the manual way. And we have Yoris here to tell us about the useful, the beneficial for using ZIMS. And I think lots of people here maybe not familiar yet about this perfectly helpful software. So Yoris, I will give time and place to you. Welcome.
Thank you.
Silahkan.
Thank you so much. Yeah, thank you so much for having me. So allow me a minute to share my screen and then we're off. Okay. So if I'm correct, you should be seeing a very nice Bali starling at the moment. Yeah. All right. Okay, so first of all, I would like to start by acknowledging our host, Dr. Mirza Kuzrini, and the entire team at the Indonesia Species Specialist Group for inviting us to speak with you today. And of course, for Mia for moderating this webinar. And thank you, Nathan, for your very informative presentation about HCBL and your important conservation work as well. It was very fascinating to learn more about, for sure. Yeah. And lastly, thank you for everyone here for joining us. It's a big pleasure and it's an honor to see you in such high numbers. So we're very lucky that we get to be here today. Yeah. So as you all know very well, Indonesia truly is a global treasure, recognized as one of the most important biodiversity hotspots on our planet. And its stunning landscapes, from vibrant coral reefs to lush rainforests, are home to an incredible array of life, including many species found nowhere else on Earth. And this rich natural heritage, however, faces significant conservation challenges, as you all know. So the members of the Indonesia Species Specialist Group play a vital role in safeguarding this biodiversity by researching conservation, breeding, education, and caring for threatened species in Indonesia. And we applaud the vital work of the Indonesian Specialist Group and you, the members, particularly in preserving Indonesia's natural heritage and the rich biodiversity of Southeast Asia. Speech 360 is proud to be supporting your efforts as much as we can. So, who is Species 360? And this might be the first time that you hear of us. Maybe you've come across us before, but just to capture what we are, Species 360 is a global mission-focused non-profit promoting collaborative data sharing to support improved animal care and welfare, and also species conservation. So our services for wildlife come in the form of ZIMS, the Zoological Information Management System for wildlife data management, Hortis, specialized software for managing plant records and conservation of flora, our conservation and science team, an alliance, who lead a global consortium of scientists in support of our mission. And we actively support the Species Conservation Toolkit Initiative, or SCTI. These are scientific tools supporting crucial analytics required for both in situ and ex situ population management and population viability assessments. As a non-profit, Species 360's core mission is very clear and focused: So we are dedicated to fostering international collaboration. So hopefully including Indonesia and you soon as well. And this collaboration is centered around the collection and sharing of critical data. And the ultimate goal of this data sharing is to serve global plant and animal management as well as conservation objectives. In essence, we facilitate the exchange of information that is vital for the health and survival of species worldwide. Our network consists of over 1,370 Species 360 members, growing every day, from over 100 countries. And our members come in all shapes and sizes, so economic capacities and objectives. They include the largest zoos and aquariums in the world, with thousands of species in major metropolitan areas, but also single species conservation breeding programs and rescue centers in remote jungles. Our membership also includes zoo associations from around the world, including the Indonesian Zoo Association, PKBSI. And here is a view of our members in Indonesia and the surrounding areas, soon to be significantly increased, hopefully, as the result of a joint effort from PKBSI and ourselves to take our cooperation to the next level. So, let me introduce you to ZIMS, the Zoological Information Management System. ZIMS is a global, cloud-based software system. Its purpose is simple but powerful to improve how we manage and share animal care, medical, and conservation data across institutions and across borders. First of all, we have ZIMS for husbandry, which will let you manage daily records for each animal or group. Things like birth, death, acquisitions, transfers, permits, enclosures, diets, feeding logs, enrichment, inventory. So basically all of the things that Nathan gets a headache from are included in our system as well. So hopefully that will be a bit of reassurance for him and for many of you. Then there's ZIMS for Aquatics, which supports aquatic animals, so especially important for Nathan's work on the bleeding toads, and other species as well that present similarly unique data challenges. This module supports water quality management, enclosure information, and species managed in groups like the tadpoles that Nathan talked about. ZIMS for Medical is an electronic medical record system for animals. Medical staff can manage treatments, clinical notes, lab results, store biological samples. And ZIMS provides medical staff with immediate access to globally unique medical resources and best practices for thousands of species. And then there's ZIMS for Stadbooks, which supports population management, critical for conservation, including collaborative breeding and genetic management, tracking of the lineage of animals, and also the history of each animal, essential for endangered species management. And finally, ZIMS offers Learn ZIMS environment, which is a dedicated educational and training environment for your staff, but also for students of universities and colleges around the world. Because of our 1,317 global members, ZIMS is a globally unique resource. It is the largest repository of wildlife data, including 25,000 species and more and growing, millions of animals, hundreds of millions of animal records, and well over 1,500 of the most critical species populations around the world are managed closely in Stadbooks. Every data point entered in ZIMS has the potential to improve animal care and support conservation, simply by entering an animal weight, a dose of medication, a breeding event. Your staff will support improved animal care and conservation. And for many data entry needs, you can enter data directly from your phone, so making life a lot easier. Records in ZIMS, aggregated across our members, are crucial to developing the resources that support institutional and global animal care and species conservation efforts, because they lead to a deeper understanding of the species demographics. With enough member data, we develop breeding insights, lifespan expectations, and typical growth patterns by species, subspecies, and even sex. We can also understand the effectiveness of medical treatments, what anesthesia or drugs works best for that species and disease, and what are the common causes of morbidity and mortality, or, for example, what are the normal blood sample results. Every institution entering data is crucial as we build these resources. Many species specific to Indonesia will have these resources available today, and if they don't exist, we would be very excited to see the Indonesian Species Specialist Group members collect the data that leads to their development. We would eagerly celebrate that accomplishment with you. Click on that. All right. So aggregated, anonymized ex-situ data from Species 360 is now displayed in the species overviews on the IUCN Red List website. It's just another way of bringing value to the work that we do together as a global community. So you're looking at a number of zoo associations here, and these 5 associations make tremendous use of our tools, managing anything from 100 and up to 500 stud books in their association, making animal welfare and population management a priority. So today, 20 associations across the world manage 1,640 stud books and ZIMS. Some critical species stud books are shared across associations, as is the case with many of the WASA global stud books, which is the World Association of Zoos and Aquarium. The Przewalski horse is a classic example of population management success. The only remaining non-domesticated horse in the world, it was once extinct in the wild, very much like Nathan's talk about those turtles. Global collaborative breeding programs led to several reintroductions in their native range and a more promising future for the species. You see here a quote from the director of the Prague Zoo in Czech Republic, and he's the coordinator of the reintroduction program for Przewalski horses, Miroslav Bobek. He expresses the critical role of Species 360 software, ZIMS and PMX, in the long-term genetic management of this amazing species. In recent years, Species 360 has incorporated the Species Conservation Toolkit Initiative, or SCTI as we call it, at the request of our zoo association partners to make sure that these tools are secure in the future and will continue to be developed. One of these tools, particularly interesting today, PMX, which offers users a powerful tool for genetic and demographic management of pedigreed populations. This program is used in unison with ZIMS for stud books. SCTI includes various other software tools for in situ population impact simulations and other stuff as well. So that brings me to the Species 360 Conservation Science Alliance, a global network of experts and institutions working together to apply data science to species conservation. And supported by Species 360, the Alliance... Oh, yeah, sorry, I have to wave hello to somebody here, but I can continue for sure. So supported by Species 360, the Alliance brings together population biologists, wildlife veterinarians, zoo professionals, and researchers to turn data into conservation action. The goal is to support the decision-making for endangered species management, including those right here in Southeast Asia, by providing tools, training, and science-based guidance. As part of this science and conservation team behind the CSA has worked on several projects for CITES and fellow members, such as the improvement in care and welfare and longevity for several species. Core to this science is the amazing species data shared and aggregated across all of our Species 360 members. To give you an example of this, the true power of aggregate species data lies in our ability to gain insight and identify trends and patterns across populations and species. The Species Knowledge Index, as you see here, or SKI, provides amazing evidence of the power of our members' data. This metric quantifies all known collective demographic knowledge about birds, reptiles, amphibians, and mammals in the world. On this chart, each pixel represents the known demographic data on a species. Pink is the highest level of information, white is the lowest. When we consider all known sources of demographic data, we get the chart on the left. When we then include ZIMS in the Species Knowledge Index, you'll see the significant increased pink on the right graph. ZIMS data from our members provided a 800% increase in global human knowledge about these critical species. And that eightfold increase in our understanding comes from aggregating and analyzing the rich data collected daily by zoos, aquariums, rescue centers, and educational facilities worldwide. The Species Knowledge Index was published in the Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences, PNAS, and is freely available through our website. And you can also use the QR code in this screen to get there. So, in short, ZIMS is a powerful tool designed to support the Indonesia Specialist Group members in their mission of animal care and conservation. ZIMS provides a centralized global platform that enables member institutions to achieve excellence in several key areas. Comprehensive data, animal data management, for sure. ZIMS allows for the recording and sharing of detailed information on animal health, husbandry, behavior. This includes everything from an animal's medical history to its daily diet and social interactions. And this data management is critical within your institutions and becomes even more invaluable when you share animals with other institutions for population management and other reasons. ZIMS helps institutions to optimize their care practices, make informed decisions about treatment, and proactively address potential health issues as well. And foremost, ZIMS facilitates seamless data sharing, not only among members within Indonesia, but also with other members in the Southeast Asia region and the global zoo and aquarium community and the conservation community. This collaboration is essential for effective conservation efforts. ZIMS also plays a crucial role in helping institutions meet global conservation goals, such as the Convention on Biological Diversity and the WASA 2027 Population Management Goal. So making a connection with Species 360 can be done in a variety of ways, depending on your needs and ambition. For collection and conservation population management, institutional membership is the obvious option. And this membership includes full access to ZIMS without any restrictions or hidden costs, and it will provide you with access to all of the modules in ZIMS as listed up here. With ZIMS, you can manage your entire animal collection, keeping current and historical records in one centralized system, eliminating scattered files or lost data. ZIMS will streamline data entry and reporting, freeing up your staff's time for things that really matter and leaving the recording of data just in the background, importantly though. And it simplifies coordination and communication between your staff as well. Knowledge of genetics and demographics is crucial for managing animal populations, breeding programs, and ensuring the long-term health of your animals. ZIMS simplifies governmental reporting and permitting. Accurate data tracking makes compliance for authorities easier and less time-consuming as well. ZIMS centralizes medical records, improving disease and medical monitoring. And it supports animal welfare by providing access to unique global medical resources. You can learn from best practices and treatments used by other institutions in Indonesia and also around the world. ZIMS aggregates medical and husbandry data, giving you a comprehensive view of your animal's health and well-being. And ZIMS facilitates collaboration and knowledge sharing within your institution and with the Indonesian and global community. You can find and collaborate with other global professionals and learn from their experiences. And of course, very importantly, share your own. Our feedback from ZIMS comes from around the world. This is Lori at Steinhardt Aquarium in California. She recently shared that having water quality readings right at our fingertips means that we can ensure the very best in habitat and health for our aquatic groups and their environments. So that's a good example of how ZIMS is being used at one of our members. And also Frank, the lead veterinarian in Dublin Zoo in Ireland, shared Species 360 is a key resource as we can interrogate what medicines have been effective in other zoos, answering such questions as what drug gives the optimal pain relief in a rhino, or how can we medicate an elderly tiger with antibiotics without impacting on her kidney function, and which anesthetic regime is best for dental on an elder ring-tailed lemur. So when you become a Species 360 member, our team will be there to support you every step of the way. That is what we do as a non-profit and as an organization that cares. You'll start off with an onboarding specialist who will help you get logged into ZIMS, create logins for your teams, but also start learning how ZIMS works, creating enclosure lists and beginning to enter your animal data. Once you are up and running, and this can take as long or as short as you need it to be, you will meet your dedicated support representative. Whenever you write in with a question, your support representative will be the one to help you first. That person will know about your organization and will be able to answer your questions correctly. But everyone on our support and training team comes from the zoo and aquarium community. So they are very much aware of the processes that are going on in your institutions. The team works from Monday to Friday and responds to every question usually within 24 business hours, often very much faster as well. So when you become a member of Species 360, you join a community of over 1,300 facilities who have all agreed to share data with each other to create better conservation outcomes for the animals in their care. By default, some basic animal data is shared with all members. This basic information includes things like birth date, sex, parents, and weights. This transparent sharing has built trust in the data so that many countries, the CITES authorities actually officially recognize ZIMS data as being reliable and accurate and good resources to base their decisions on. You may also choose to share more information about a specific animal or a taxonomy with another member, especially if you are sending or receiving an animal from another member. For example, you can share detailed notes or a complete medical history. This way, ZIMS provides you with a single lifetime record for that animal. We do recognize, by the way, that there may be situations where you don't want to share even the existence of an animal. ZIMS is flexible enough to accommodate that. And your support representative would then help you figure out how to best do this, because there's multiple ways to. The more data our members share with another, though, the better our community gets at caring for these species. An alternative way to gain access to Species 360 global data is the Insights subscription. Our subscribers include many university veterinary clinics and veterinary diagnostics labs. As access to our global expected test results tool, for example, is included in this subscription for thousands of non-domesticated species, as well as anesthesia summaries, which can be very helpful. The Inside subscription aims to stimulate the availability of such information, thereby providing better veterinary care for animals across the world. And it should be noted that this subscription is restricted to global anonymized data only. So there's no data entry need, and there's no privacy issues there either. More than 30 universities and colleges across the world teach the basics of ZIMS to their wildlife and biology students, thereby preparing the next generation of conservationists for their important roles in bringing our joint mission forward. They do this using a sandbox ZIMS environment in which students can safely practice using ZIMS without affecting live global data. And this subscription includes student access to our online courses as well on conservationtraining.com, for which they will receive official certificates upon completion. So in this way, doing the courses also is a great asset for starting professionals. Right, so at this point in the presentation, I'm going to switch to ZIMS itself. So allow me to stop sharing my screen for 1 second while I prepare that for you. And I'll show you what ZIMS looks like. All right, so I'm going to go there. And then I'm going to share again. Okay, all right. So you're now looking at a very nice piece of coral, I presume. If that's not the case, let me know. So you're looking at ZIMS. I've logged in as in a non-live learning environment, so I can show you roughly what ZIMS looks like. And it should be noted that ZIMS is a software as a service, which means that it is approachable online. There's no local software installation required, and the only thing you need is an internet access. It is also accessible from any device, although this platform has been specifically built for desktop environments, so for laptops and computers, and gets really small when you open this particular page on your phone, as you can imagine. However, we are in the process of switching the entirety of ZIMS to a new platform, which will be much more mobile friendly. And we've already started to release new features like data entry from your phone. ZIMS appears to be a desktop environment with the start menu, and that will lead you to all of the functionalities that we have available. As I told you before, ZIMS consists of 3 major parts. One we call husbandry, which includes animal collection management, which is done through the animal search. It also includes a taxonomy module and an enclosure module as well. And then there's the ZIMS for medical part, which is basically a full veterinary clinic with all of the supporting tools that are needed for that, such as a pharmacy inventory, and sample storage, and also a test upload possibility for large diagnostic labs across the world. And then lastly, we have the Statbooks module, but I'll log into another environment to show you that in a second, so you can see what that looks like. So what I wanted to show you is if we go to the animal search, and let's see if that works. Well, doesn't seem to look nice in my screen. I'm not sure. Let me see if I can change that. Okay, there we go. That's better. Okay, so I'm taking you into an animal record, and I've created a fictive animal to please Nathan. I've taken a bleeding toad, although it's still recorded here in LearnZims as just a toad, which is of course not correct. So you're looking at the animal record of this animal. basic details to start with, also identifiers and things like that, which enclosure it is in. So lots of information that will help you manage your animals effectively and correctly. It also has other tabs, such as the more details tab, which will allow you to record information on, for example, feed logs, also enrichment, and whenever relevant, training information as well. The next tab is the Notes and Observations tab, which will allow you to keep sort of a daily log of your animal. Anything that is of interest can be stored in here, using note types and subtypes to distinguish between them, and to be able to search for them later on using one of the many reports that we have available in ZIMS to do that. And lastly, in the My Transactions tab, this is where our users keep track of where the animal is from, where the animal goes, and eventually, if an animal dies, it is recorded here as well. Yeah. So I wanted to show you a few features that are related to husbandry. For example, what I've done here is I've added a weight for an animal. I just made this up, so don't judge me for getting it completely wrong. This is a tadpole of the bleeding toad, and I can then go to a weight graph in which, if I would have more weights, I would be able to graph the process of the animal growing up as well. It's one of the tools that we use to get visual insight into an animal's progress and well-being. The same can be done with length. I took the total length of the animal at 9 millimeters just yesterday, and this can also be tracked over time, obviously, to see if the animal growth is as expected. Yeah. All right. So I've created this particular animal as an individual animal because it was hatched as a tadpole. However, it can already start earlier on in its life as an egg mass as well. If I would accession an egg mass, I can then keep track of the hatching of that and of the individuals coming out of that eventually. I can also choose to create a group of animals in one record, thereby centralizing all of the data recording on the entire group and allowing me to keep track of the size of the group as well by changing the census. Okay, so if we take this animal and we move over to the medical record side, and allow me one moment to load that. It takes us to the medical records dashboard, which basically consists of the overview of everything that happened with an animal or across the whole organization, and has basic information about the animal that we have in view, including any active problems that the animal might have. And as you can see here, I've added a few details here just to show you how that works, including a clinical note and also a diagnosis, a prescription, and then a sample taken from this animal as well. You can see all of those categories here on the left, which also include logging of tests and results, doing anesthesia events, logging physiological measurements, often during an anesthesia event like heart rate, blood pressure, things like that. And also necropsy of animals that unfortunately deceased, or biopsies. So all of this is accompanied again by loads of medical records to allow you to manage your veterinary activities properly, and supported by the tools that I mentioned, such as the pharmacy inventory report, pharmacy inventory, and also test upload and stuff like that. So at this point, I can imagine you've seen, in a few minutes, you've seen loads and loads of potential data entry points. It's important for me to mention that it's not about having to do everything in ZIMS. It's impossible. There are so many options to use ZIMS that that even the largest organizations in the world don't use every single bit of it. So it's important for you to understand within your institution what is critical for your data management and use only those parts to begin with, and then gradually extend into other areas as needed and as so desired. So lastly, I want to take you to our global resources. We have a lot of those on husbandry level as well, but I want to take you to the medical resources first, because I think that might be of interest. And I'll take you to the expected test results. So hold on while that loads. We can take it from there. So what I can do is hopefully go to the Sumatran tiger. Oh, and what I think is happening is that very likely, because this is not a live environment, this might not be available. So let's give it one more go. No, I think that's
yeah, global data is only in the live ZIMS, not in learn ZIMS.
Right. Yeah, thank you, Sander. Thank you for reaching out. Yeah, definitely. So I'll skip that part for now, but I can show you absolutely later when we do questions for sure. So what these global resources actually do is they give global expectations of what blood test values should be, what cytology values should be, based on the global data that has been recorded by all of our members. So it gives you a very well-balanced and reliable resource when you deal with treating patients. And the same goes for anesthesia summaries. This will show you a summary of 5 different combinations of drugs that are mostly used on specific species in their anesthesia, and the dosages and any complications and things like that. So very useful in that sense. All right, okay. So with that said, I am going to switch over to the studbook area. So hold on. Give me 1 second to get that done. So there we go. Get that out of the way. Okay. Right, so start menu, and we're going to go into the studbooks module. As I said, this is used for basically all regional and also institutional studbooks across the world for most of the zoo associations across the world as well. So we have a completely fictive, not real studbook on Sumatran tiger. Just to show you some of the examples. It's just for practice purposes. So first of all, you can see there are several list views, including looking at all of the living animals only, or even all animals in the studbook, including animals that have since deceased. There's a list of suggested animals. These are animals that are automatically populated from ZIMS for husbandry, from their husbandry records, and that might be of interest for the studbook. And it's up to the studbook coordinator to decide what to do with them. So if he wants to include them in the studbook or not. So let's open up one of those lists so you can have a look. What we're seeing here is an overview of all of the animals in the studbook with their studbook IDs on the left. The GANs, which are the unique identification numbers for each and every single animal in ZIMS, also called our global accession number. and then all kinds of information about these animals. If I go into the tools section, you can see here we have lots of tools that can be used to analyze the population that you're looking at, including, for example, the reproductive dashboard. And this is, of course, where it gets really, really specific and very specialistic, because STUPBOOK coordinators have very different needs, often from the regular husbandry users. So, I don't expect you to fully grasp the extent of the STUPBOOKs module yet. We do also see regional associations run STUPBOOKs trainings for STUPBOOK coordinators to get started in this, and there's always support from them as well from us as a team, obviously. So this shows the reproductive characteristics of the population, including reproductive events that happened, and the dates and the ages for the animals to first reproduce and to last reproduce, and stuff like that. The age structure is one of those quite traditional views, I would say, of a population that you often see in STUPBOOK reporting as well, showing the age of the animals split between the males on the left and the females on the right, and some undetermined as well. And then this one is important, the export to PMX, just to point out, because I'm not going there, but this is the tool that will allow you to export files that you can then import into PMX. Remember, that's the tool that is used for genetic analysis, and basically as a very sophisticated dating tool to match animals in a way that the genetic diversity is kept to the highest level possible. And then there's loads of other tools as well, which I will not bore you with at the moment, because it's in too much detail. So I would say let's return to the presentation. I'll stop sharing and I'll pull up my presentation again for the final bit, and then I am done. All right, hold on. Okay, there we go. Sharing. All right. Okay. So to summarize, there's three major options that are of interest in your case, I would assume. So that is the Species 360 Inside subscription for our global resources. It's the institutional membership to fully manage your animal collection, your breeding programs for endangered species. And there's also the ZIMS for Education subscription to educate your next generation of conservationists. So if you would be interested in pursuing any of those connections, we would be very happy to guide you further. You briefly heard my colleague Sander Kozijn as well. He and I deal with most of the new member applications, and we'll be happy to answer any of your questions that you might have, or have a separate demo that specifies that looks specifically at your institution's needs. So just reach out to us for sure. We will guide you from the application to membership or subscription. There's a small process there. Because we are an NGO, we're a member-based organization. This includes approval from our board of trustees for new members, and obviously the payment arrangements as well. It's good to note, I think, that, as I said before, we aim to be inclusive for all sizes of institutions. So to be fair in the membership fees or the subscription fees that are provided, we look at the specifics of your institution. So the size, also the other characteristics, and also including the region that you are in. So we can give you a quote that is fair to you and also fair within the scope of our global membership. After the application process is over, we will get you started, as I say, with our onboarding specialist and our training tools. And you can bank on our support all the way through your membership, for sure. Yeah, we are a non-profit, so we aim for you to be happy in using ZIMS and to be effective in using ZIMS, thereby supporting our mission for global knowledge. Right, so again, we look forward to hearing from you, and please feel free to reach out to me. And that leaves me with only one slide left, and that is to thank you so much, Terry Kassi.
Thank you so much, Joris, for your presentation. That was very clear and perfect. So thank you also for your demos. I think lots of people maybe already got some inspirations for knowing about the software here. I can say that what you mentioned before about ZIMS is like simple and powerful software and provides for recording, analyzing informations related to husbandry, pet care, and population management. So like you said before, there is a 3 major part in the ZIMS itself for husbandry, medical, and also stat books that may be very beneficial for lots of people here that working on the conservations, especially on the Exido area. And then because it is very beneficial for also help us to arrange and analyze this data, it is very easy at the same times, but to access all of this, it must be becoming a membership first, right? So that is what can I say for now. But before we move to the Q&A session, I said before that we will play the videos that we delayed to play before. I think Mbak Dita can help us to playing it. Also, I want to say thanks, Sanders, for your assistance in the chat box. That was really helpful. Maybe Mbak Dita, can you play the video? Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Mbak Dita, for the videos. So I think the video is more focused on the breeding successful story of the leptoprine crentata, that the species that Mas Nathan tell us before. And I think in PKBSI itself, we have some zoos that becoming a membership already in the member species 360 for accessing ZIMS. Gembira Loka also join us today here. So maybe in the other opportunity, IDSSG can also give other zoos for sharing about the benefit for using ZIMS. So it can also give some educations and also maybe some like a big pictures on how for using it and give some very many benefit for becoming a membership in ZIMS. Thank you so much. And now we are coming to Q&A sessions. For all of the participants here that want to ask directly to our speaker, then you can click raise hand on the reaction panel. You can directly asking the questions to Mas Nathan or maybe Yoris. And also if you are really shy to talking directly to our speakers, then please kindly write your question in the chat box and I will read it. Okay, we have the first one from Mbak Margareta Noviani. You can go to ask your question, Mbak Margareta. Oh, sorry. Okay. Okay, can you testing your sound again?
Okay.
Yeah. Sure.
Yeah, thank you for the time. Hello everyone, my name is Margarita Noviani. So now I live in Bali and I'm part of Bring Back the Light project. This is like a fireflies conservation project in Bali. I also want to take this time to introduce this project to Indonesian specialist survive group because I think some of Indonesian still don't know about our project exists in Indonesia. So this project like concern in fireflies conservation, which is it's not really like familiar from Indonesian ecologists or biologists, I think, because most of us always conserve about mammals, birds, and many things. So yeah, I think it's a good time also to introduce our project in Bali here. So I have two questions, one for Mas Nathan and also one for Joris. And I really interesting to have Sims. Maybe the first question for Joris first. So now I work like almost 2 years in this conservation, and the challenge in our project is because we don't have a lot of data about fireflies. And I tried to looking for data about fireflies in Indonesia and we don't have it. Even I tried to reach like a scientist from BRIN, from BRIN, and I don't have any answer. And last month we visited by a member of IUCN Firefly Specialist Group from Malaysia, the co-chair of Firefly Specialist Group, and she visited us and she really happy that we have a project that also now concerned about Firefly. And I wanna ask about have in a Sims, do you have any like a data or report about fireflies? Because I don't know, when you do a demo, I only see like a mammal, bird, or something like that. Or maybe you have any data about fireflies in your software, because for us now, uh the challenge is, like I said before, we don't have any data, and Indonesia, and most of the data that we have is from American fireflies and also from Europe fireflies, and even we don't have like the global data, because I also talk with the co-chair of the IUCN Firefly Specialist Group, and she said also we still gather like the data, because yeah, fireflies like not really in
Yeah.
a spotlight in a conservation like that. So yeah, so that's my question. Do you have any data resource? Because I think I really want to use this software to my project, because we really need that. I have background in biology, but I never like manage a lot of data. And in 2 years in our project, because now we also concern like focus to try a breeding project. So this is also for me also really interesting, because you have a lot of the dashboard that we can use for like our data reporting and also a breeding that management data. For these 2 years, I only use Excel for my project, so it's really like a very overwhelmed for me to every daily or monthly I put data, or sometimes we like when we analyze it, we like a little bit confused and like a little bit yeah. So I really
Yeah, I can imagine that.
interesting to
Yeah, for
use
sure.
this ZIMS like
Yeah,
that. So that's my question for Joris. And the
Yeah.
second one,
Shall I answer?
yeah.
Shall I answer that first, maybe
Yeah,
before you
maybe
move on to
you can
Nathan?
answer that first, Mbak
Yeah.
Margarita, untuk nanti Mas Nathan, pertanyaan untuk Mas Nathan-nya bisa disampaikan nanti. Mungkin Yoris akan menjawab pertanyaannya Mbak Margarita.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yes, that's fine. All right, cool. Yeah, so stay up for sure. Very interesting research and very challenging, I can imagine, to work with fireflies and breeding. So I applaud you for that, for sure. While you were speaking, I was very quickly trying to see if we have any fireflies recorded in ZIMS, and it's very little. So it's which I think makes sense if you look from our perspective, that our members are mostly zoos and aquariums. Firefly conservation and keeping is probably not much done much. So I could only find one group of fireflies in a UK English collection, actually. So to answer your question directly, no, I don't think we have lots of information on fireflies in ZIMS at the moment. But for that reason alone, it would be amazing if you could be the one, your organization could be the one contributing that global knowledge, because that would make a huge difference to our global knowledge on these species, because we're probably largely unaware of the dangers and the threatened status of these animals. So thank you so much for doing that. Yeah. Of course, we on a broader scale, our members also manage their collections of insects and invertebrates in ZIMS, for sure, as usually as group records. So that's not unusual, and that would fit perfectly also in your case, I think. Yeah. So hopefully that answers your question a little bit. Let me know.
Maybe do you want to adding any questions regarding the fireflies resources again, Mbak Margareta, or do you think it's enough?
Yeah, I think it's enough, right?
You
Yeah.
think it's
So
enough?
maybe you can please ask your question to Nathan, I would say. Yeah, I'm curious to see that. To hear
Yeah.
about that.
So Mbak Margareta, if you have any questions regarding the resources in ZIMS for fireflies, and maybe you want to know about what kind of organization in UK that Yoris mentioned before about fireflies project, you can maybe chat personally in email to
Yeah,
Yoris.
for sure.
That's
Yeah,
possible, yeah.
send me an email. Send me an email, Margareta. We'll
Yeah.
talk more for sure. Yeah.
Thank you, Yoris. And then let's move to your question to Mas Nathan, Mbak Margareta. Please go ahead.
Okay, thank you, Mbak Sufraha. I also want to ask to Mas Nathan about breeding project because in my case, in my firefly conservation project, we try to breeding firefly, but sometimes this is like a little bit like confusing feeling for me because we now realize that firefly know the grazing. And in past 2 years, we try to breeding firefly because our goal is like to increasing their population. And I know that as I know, breeding is like breeding research is like learning about their life cycle. So and now in in one species we already success to breeding like one species. We call it one species, but the challenge we try another species to breed, but until now I realized it's like a little bit difficult to breeding. So it's mean because we still on the research to breeding, it's mean we like not take the sample from the wild. So in this breeding project, sometimes I a little bit like not blame myself. I mean like we every month we take a sample to doing a breeding, but it's fail again. I mean like how many fireflies that we take from nature now that we use for breeding research, and I'm like first and 3 months I'm like crying because all my method is like failed, and I just like sad when I try to take firefly from nature to doing breeding again, something like that, because now we still work in a second species and it's really difficult. Even it's almost 2 years we learning about the firefly, but why it's happening, my reason is also because the firefly life cycle itself also have really long life cycle. I mean like sometimes the larvae took 2 until 3 years or like several months, and if we fail in like in a 6 months, which is we need to repeat it again from the first time, which is we need to like take more firefly. And now the fact that firefly knows like the grazing sometimes is also like make me feel sad. Is it good if I always do a breeding to learn about the fireflies, or what your advice about our project, or we should like try to learn about their habitat more, or about learn not only breeding, or breeding is really important in a conservation, something like that, because the challenge also why we fail, I think because we try without any guidance, because no one started something like this before. Even in some country, they also never try to like give like exactly data or exactly method about the using to breeding. Yeah, that's my question. I hope you understand. Thank you so much.
Yeah, so it's very relatable. So Risma, my technician, and we worked together at the lab, and we kind of felt this. And our boss Mirza got all this. Whatever you said to me today, we've been doing that to her for the past 2 years because we've been killing so many frogs, and we failed a lot, but because we kept the records, even though they're manual records, we learned from our mistakes, and now we have hundreds of tadpoles. I'm hoping they will succeed and metamorphose, but it took a long time. I mean, 2 years, and we've killed a lot of frogs, not intentionally. We've made mistakes, and then we make different mistakes, and then finally we figure out the right way. And I think if you've got a goal to safeguard species from extinction, sure, you don't intentionally kill them, but you sometimes fail. If there's no data on the husbandry of these animals, you do what you can, and then you write up that data. So anyone else who wants to do the same thing won't be making the same mistakes you did. And that's how we do things here. And fireflies, I think this is the first I've heard of, fireflies being bred in captivity. And I think it's a very interesting project. If I'm in Bali again, I think this year I would like to visit, and maybe we can try and figure out how to breed them. But I don't have an answer for you. I know nothing about fireflies, but in general, with all animals, you need to know the ecology of the species and kind of just try and be a detective and figure out, hypothesize what went wrong, try and fix that. If it changes the next time, then good. If it doesn't, it's probably something else. And killing a few and then succeeding is probably better than doing nothing and then it goes extinct in the wild, because I'm pretty sure fireflies are not doing very well, especially since there's more and more development and tourism, and they're quite sensitive animals. Because around my house, I live in a university at IPB. It's 3 years ago, I used to see fireflies very regularly. Now, maybe once a month. So it's they're quite rare. I don't even know what species I'm seeing, but I think what you're doing is really important work, and don't give up. It's very painful. You feel guilty, but if you're doing it for the right reasons, I think it's the right thing to do would be to try again, and not try again the same way you did last time. Try and figure out what went wrong and try and change a few things and see if you succeed the next time,
Thanks, Mas Nathan, for the answer. Any question again for Mas Nathan, Mbak Margareta? Or is it enough?
Enough. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you so much for Mbak Margareta. Thanks again for Mas Nathan. I think you both can maybe decide it the best time when Mas Nathan come visit to Bali, and then can talk lots about the breeding effort regarding the fireflies, and maybe Mas Nathan can also share a bit more about the conservation effort regarding the captive breeding that might be gonna be useful for the fireflies breeding project. Okay, I saw some question on the chat box, but maybe before we coming to the chat box, I'm gonna open for one direct questions again by the raising hand. Please raise your hand on the panel below, for all the participants here that maybe want to ask the questions directly to our lovely speakers here. Is there any people? Maybe I didn't see anyone raising their hands again. So yeah, maybe we can go to our chat box. It's mostly asking about the ZIMS, so let's come to yours, Yoris. I think Sanders also gives some assistance in replying the questions, but mostly because the participants here, it's not only from the zoo's expertise. Some of them are from the university and researcher. So they are very, very interesting to learn about becoming a membership of the Species 360 to accessing ZIMS for the institutions, like for educations, and some of them are really need to accessing data regarding maybe their important thesis, master thesis, or maybe bachelor thesis to do the analysis data. So how about it, Yoris? Maybe you can also give some answer. I think what Sander right is
Yeah, exactly.
it's cool.
Yes.
But maybe you can
Yeah.
also answer that. Thank you.
Yeah, definitely. Or if Sander feels like it, I'm very happy if you want to summarize what you've been talking about in the chat. Otherwise, I
Yeah,
will.
sure.
Yeah,
Yeah,
No
go
problem.
ahead. Go ahead,
Welcome
Sander.
to
Go ahead,
this.
Sander.
So the question was from someone at the university, first of all, wishing to know if they could learn about ZIMS and then also access data about ZIMS. So as I mentioned in the chat, yes, there's ways for individuals to learn about ZIMS. We have the ZIMS for Academy effort, which allows individuals to become a temporary student of ZIMS and access all the courses that we have available. The course topics range from husbandry and enclosure parts to the global Species 360 insights data that you can access, as well as medical ZIMS, but then for non-medical personnel. So it gives a good basic insight on how that medical part for ZIMS works. Now, all those courses are also available for our normal members. So if you become a member of Species 360, the new employees that you get over time as people rotate in and out of your institution can also do those courses and get taught the basics of ZIMS before they start doing their actual jobs, which is really nice. The data request. Yes, sir, Nathan, go ahead.
Yeah, I think I'd just like to add for this case, because Joris and I have talked, and I think soon we will be having ZIMS, and I'm at the same university from Talitha, yeah, just a different faculty. So Talitha, you can, I think, get in touch, and then if you have friends that are doing reptile stuff, they probably have my number. So yeah, and I think Joris, it's okay, right? If we, use it to
Yeah, definitely.
all included.
Yeah, definitely. There's those. That's why we have the different products, as you might say, the subscriptions and the membership. So it's not uncommon for universities to have two of those, like have an institutional membership to keep track of their own animals that they have in breeding programs and for educational reasons, and then have a ZIMS for Education subscription on the side for teaching their students.
Yeah,
So that's a combination that we know we have quite a lot. Yeah.
One of the things we do at the lab also is to, teach students about captive management. And we are in the Faculty of Forestry, but occasionally also I would help out with the vet students as well, and students from biology. We do work together, so we are happy to facilitate that.
Yeah, exactly. So it would be good to have a further discussion where your needs are as a university as a whole, not only Nathan's needs, and then go from there. Pick the right subscriptions and memberships for sure. Yeah, and obviously,
Yeah, exactly.
Coming with that, the more you do, the better discounts also we can get you. We won't. We're a non-profit, so we're trying to be as fair as possible. Yeah.
To elaborate a little bit on that, Nathan, we have universities that have their animal collections, and then the Learn ZIMS part actually provides them with like that training environment, which they then can use to implement into the curriculum of students. So you can actually make it part of the student process of, their learning courses, that they get an introduction into ZIMS, including, getting those certificates at the end of those self-learning courses and stuff like that. So there's multiple ways to do that. Another thing which is useful to know is that our member institutions have full control over who they provide access to ZIMS to. They decide if it's just a core group, if it's a bigger group, are they including volunteers, researchers, etc., etc. And there's no additional cost for creating more users, because we want to stimulate all that usage. We want to stimulate all that data gathering as much as possible, as it is the value of the global data that helps drive conservation efforts.
Yeah, thank you,
Yeah,
Sander.
that's good to know. I think I will talk to my boss, Mirza. She's a professor, and she's teaching, I think now, captive management also. So we will, hopefully put that in also.
Yeah,
excellent.
Thank
And
you,
then
Nathan.
to circle back to the second part of that question, to get information from ZIMS. Part of the information can, of course, be gathered by becoming a member and having those tools to your availability. So these are, species overviews within a region, the medical information, etc., etc. But researchers often require much more specific type of information. And at that point, it really is where you move out of ZIMS as a product and you get into contact with our Conservation Science Alliance team, which are handling all those types of data requests and are looking like, okay, what are you searching for? Is it available in ZIMS? Is it something that we can extract in a privacy sensitive way, etc.? And of course, there might be some cost involved depending on how much data, how much time it needs to be spent on to gather that. So there's two different processes there, but there's a lot of requests always arriving at our door for information.
Yeah, that's good. And to elaborate on that, Sander, you already touched upon the privacy part of data. I think it's important to recognize that for institutions that actually enter data into ZIMS, that these data are theirs and they will be forever, even after they would leave membership at some point. So they're always able to extract the data from ZIMS. That's one thing. But obviously, in relation to our global mission, it is important that the data that is gathered stays within the database. So that is actually our powerful tool to be able to look back in history, to expand the knowledge globally. So I thought that would be important to note. And then, as I've already briefly mentioned, there's loads of opportunities to to keep your data private, but also to share it externally with others. So it's a very flexible system that can be managed as you like it, as you need it to be. Yeah.
Thanks so much for your explanation, Sanders and Yoris. I'm a bit interested also. Maybe you have any examples for any universities, maybe in Southeast Asia, already becoming memberships for Species 360?
That is a good
Not
question.
at the top of my head, so I would have to look.
Yeah.
We're
Sorry,
working on
a
it.
bit
Yeah.
interested.
Yeah,
Is it-
let's get.
is it
We'll get back to
gonna-
you on that in
Yeah,
a minute.
thank you. And is you gonna also make the kind of special interface for the university, because maybe each of the universities might have a different kind of needs to uploading or
Yeah,
access?
so our interface is as it is, as you've seen it. You're not able to change things around because that would mean changing it for all of our members. Obviously, we have a very large development team behind this that basically does all of the software development.
Yeah.
And they will look very closely at all of the needs of the different members, including the universities. So one, they will look themselves. But two, in ZIMS there's an option to mention all of your needs as new features, things that you would like, and for other members to vote on those. So gaining priority as the votes go higher. So all of that information is used to establish what is absolutely necessary to develop in ZIMS further, and what is very specific to only a few organizations and would be incredibly nice to have, but is probably financially not viable to develop because it will only be used by a few organizations. So it's a balance act of what we can do and what we cannot do. Obviously, there's always a limit to our resources. Even if we are still growing, there's a limit to that. So we have to make very conscious and very deliberate decisions on where we can grow our impact as much as possible. Yeah, but I was thinking also from a practical point of view, if you have a lot of users in ZIMS and they all have different levels of access, they will only see the parts that are relevant to them. So in that sense, looking at customizing your ZIMS experience, that's what happens. Because if one of the users does not have access to a stud book, they will not see that part, or medical, or so on. Yeah.
Correct. You can you have a full rights system in ZIMS, and there will be one or more people responsible within your institution to set up user accounts, to set up the rights that they have in the system. So you have full control if someone is only read only or can also edit, etc. For the Learn ZIMS environment for universities, we have a number of them that use it in different ways. And I did a quick check. I don't see anyone in the Siasa region immediately. I do see a single individual researcher that's in Singapore, but the closest ones are a number of them in Australia and New Zealand, probably. So it would be a first in the region, which would be great to establish and get a structure going in that sense.
Okay.
The difference between these universities is very diverse. Like some people are just doing like show and tells in like a student class or something like that. Other universities create a full virtual zoo experience where a student has to attend a lesson like all throughout the year a number of times, and they make up animals and they do transactions to each other, etc., etc. And that is the beauty of having that playground environment available. The university or the college can pretty much come up with their own initiatives internally, how they believe that it's connecting right for their students to be able to implement it in the curriculum.
Yep. Nothing to add.
Much.
Perfect.
Sanders and Yoris. That's clear for me. And I think we gonna reach our ending sessions for this webinar. I'll give the opportunity to each of our speakers to give the final remarks, like closing remarks before we end these sessions. So I'll give to Yoris first, and then Mas Nathan
Sure.
second. Please.
Yeah.
Please.
Yeah. So again, thank you so much for everybody being here and asking so many questions also in the chat. I love that, and I hope you'll ask us many more questions once you've digested all of the information that you got from us. I will make sure I'm going to ask Mia and Dita if they can share the PDF of the presentation with you, so you have all of the slides available just to recap what you've been listening to. And we are very happy to hear from you, even if it's with a wild idea. That's fine. That's what we love, because we are always looking to expand our horizons and grow our impact in the world together. So thank you so much.
Thank you so
Give the
much,
word to
Yoris.
Nathan. Yeah.
And Mas Nathan, please go ahead.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess thanks for attending, and if anyone would like to discuss further and you know, anything related to herpetology, captive management, and for IPB students, researchers, if you're in a different faculty, we are happy to help in terms of collections management and data in this field.
Thanks so much, Mas Nathan. And I think for the conclusions for our conservation breeding effort from Mas Nathan's presentation before, not so many people are interested yet to conserve like unknown species like amphibian, although we know that there is lots of factors that threaten the populations by now, but it doesn't mean we cannot do the breeding efforts. Like Mas Nathan also said, it is very difficult and painful at the same time, but it is not possible. So hopefully it will give lots of motivation to our participants here. And again, for our presentation here from Yoris, so data is the main part for improve our conservation effort to save the threatened species especially, but somehow to record and analyze it also need more effort by ourselves. But this difficulty can be solved by using the simple and powerful software or tools like ZIMS to help and arrange and recording the data and do the analysis based on what they provide. And we hope the collaborations on this can growing better and closer. So in the future, we can do lots of breeding conservation effort or maybe captive management effort to also improve our threatened species, especially in Indonesia, can go really well. And we cannot do the conservation without such a collaborative effort. So that's what I think and what I can learn about this. Thank you so much for all of the participants here. I want to say thank you for all of the questions that question directly to our speakers and also on the chat. Thank you so much. Maybe we can see on the other webinar. See you and thank you. Hope you have a nice day. Sehat selalu semuanya. Terima kasih.
Thank you
Enjoy.
so much.
Bye.
Have a good
Thank you
weekend.
so much, Mas Nathan.
Thank you.
Terima kasih Dita, terima kasih teman-teman IB, SSG dan semua partisipan. Salam kenal, selamat melanjutkan.